Hello, friends. Welcome to today's webinar, How to Use CallStats.io to Monitor Service Quality for IceLink Apps. My name is Carl Bloom. I'm with CallStats, and welcome to our webinar. As I say, we're glad to have you joining us. Today we'll have two speakers, one Tim Steeves from Frozen Mounatin, and the other Benoit Chemigate from CallStats.io. And why don't we move right into the webinar? I will introduce Tim in just a second. Actually, let me first start off with this webinar summary. So we will begin by handing the ball over to Tim to talk about Frozen Mounatin and their background in WebRTC. He'll walk through IceLink at a glance. He will also talk about how to integrate IceLink, and then we'll transition to Benoit, who will talk about CallStats.io and our background in the WebRTC space as the monitoring leader. He'll talk about the architecture for our product, and then we'll transition to Tim again, so a handoff to him, who will explain how to integrate Frozen Mounatin IceLink and actually provide a live demo of the integration and how quick and easy it is to integrate IceLink and CallStats. And then finally, Benoit will pick up from there and will deliver a demo of CallStats and the actual dashboard that our customers use to monitor their WebRTC sessions. So with that quick webinar summary, and now I will actually give it over to Tim.
Hey, thanks, Carl. Yeah, so before we get into the presentation, the actual integration of CallStats and IceLink, I'd like to just give you a quick introduction of who is Frozen Mounatin Software, and then I'll introduce you to the WebRTC product that we've integrated with CallStats. So Frozen Mounatin Software was founded in 2008, well before the WebRTC specification was drafted. One of our first products was a high-volume data transfer software development kit. That's mostly what we specialize in, is building out software development kits. It was highly reliable and still used TCP to transfer information, so it was not able to transfer data in real time. Then we developed a product based off of the ICE specification. For those of you who are familiar with the WebRTC spec, ICE is the spec that allows you to punch holes through firewalls to establish direct peer-to-peer connections and transfer data over UDP, which is then in real time. This product was originally data agnostic, and it still is, but later we added specific codec support and started specializing in audio-video transmission. This was right around the time that WebRTC was introduced to Chrome. And the rest is sort of history. WebRTC became a dominant player in the market, and since we had basically already written a WebRTC-like product, it was very simple for us to extend our product to be WebRTC compatible and then later ORTC compatible. We continued down the WebRTC and ORTC paths, gaining expert insights into the intricacies of audio, video, and data transmission in real time, and this is essentially how IceLink was born. And since then, we've grown our company to a team of 40+ WebRTC experts servicing telehealth, telephony, education, AR, VR gaming, and all kinds of other app development industries. So that's Frozen Mounatin. Now I'll talk to you a little bit about IceLink before I hand it over to Benoit to introduce you to CallStats.io and all the benefits of using that integration. As many of you know, IceLink is a software development kit that allows you to quickly and easily add WebRTC compatible peer-to-peer audio, video, and data streaming into your applications. It's not just for web-based apps, but we also support all the latest operating systems and the native languages that those operating systems support, allowing you to build high-performant native applications on any platform. And IceLink is not a cookie cutter type of WebRTC software development kit either. What also strongly differentiates us from other SDKs is the way IceLink is architected. We like to call IceLink the Swiss Army knife of WebRTC. It gives you an unprecedented level of control over your peer connections, from custom encryption modes to custom media pipelines, IceLink provides you the freedom to be able to build nearly any type of application on any hardware on nearly any device. Yeah, so as I mentioned, IceLink supports almost every operating system natively, but we've also built out tools for Xamarin, Unity, and more, allowing CTOs and development architects the flexibility not only to develop on the platforms they need, but with the frameworks of their choice, providing the ability to make the most cost-effective or performant decisions when building out their applications. We've seen our customers build baby monitors on Raspberry Pis, transmit real-time skeletal and spatial audio data for AR/VR applications, synchronizing avatars with real-time conversations, and of course, rapidly prototyping Android, iOS, web, HoloLens, and desktop applications using a single unified API. And of course, all of this is based off of the stun, turn, ICE, RTP, SRTP, and all the standard specifications built into WebRTC and ORTC. So last month, we were very happy to announce our partnership with callstats.io. Today, I'm going to show you how to quickly and easily add callstats to your own application. I'll provide some documentation resources as well, so you can try out the integration within your own app after this webinar. Setup is less than 5 minutes, and you can begin to retrieve visualizations of your call data in the callstats dashboard. But before I do that, I'd like to introduce you to Benoit from callstats. Benoit is going to give you a quick overview of callstats.io, and then I'll come back and do a live coding demonstration. Benoit?
Hey, thanks, Tim. That was a really great introduction to Frozen Mounatin and IceLink SDK. I think even I learned something more about IceLink today. So this is Benoit. I'm a product manager at callstats.io. And next slide, please. Thanks, Carl. So callstats.io, those of you who don't know about callstats.io, if I have to give you a one-sentence pitch, then callstats.io is like the Google Analytics for WebRTC. We provide end-to-end monitoring for WebRTC applications. To talk a little bit about the history of callstats.io, it was founded in 2014 by really cool contributors to IETF and W3C. And one of them being our CEO, Varun Singh, who is the co-author of GetStats API for WebRTC. And we have customers across several verticals, and majority of them come from like team collaborations, contact centers, and marketplaces like online learning or telehealth and live streaming. And now we see more and more people moving towards VR, AR applications and surveillance. And across these verticals, we collect over 1 billion WebRTC data points, that is statistics, every month. So this is like a massive amount of data that we are handling like every day. And we are also integrated into several CPaaS platforms like Twilio, TalkBox, probably you should say Boneage instead of TalkBox now, and also Amazon Connect. And if you're also thinking about like standalone SDKs or SIP.js or JSIP, most of the mainstream SDKs have integrated callstats.io, and we are now adding Frozen Mounatin also to that list. And also, not only our customers think like callstats is cool, but also Gartner has given us the cool UCaaS vendor tag in 2016. And we are also backed by leading venture capitalist firms in US and also in Europe. So the basic question comes to like, why should you actually measure the WebRTC calls? So as Peter Drucker says, if you cannot measure it, you cannot improve it. So we have several type of users to callstats.io. So if you just look at a normal company, there are developers who are actually building the WebRTC application. So one of the main thing that they come across is like, let's say signaling error or WebRTC related errors like STP generation error or negotiation errors. So all of these things need to be caught in the beginning itself. So callstats.io provides a way to actually like catch these errors and then measure like how deep is the impact of this issue to your actual users. Then if you move to a different persona like customer support people, then if you don't have enough time to train them or they are not like really WebRTC or networking geeks, they need to have a way of like handling customer requests. Let's say it can be as simple as like the end user did not give access to their audio device or media device. So they need to be able to actually fix those issues without consulting with developers or people who are like expert in that domain knowledge. And then again, if you look at like DevOps, once you're built a stable platform, you want to actually expand that to multiple geographies, or you want to have servers across the world, then you might come across issues like, okay, the RTT towards your server is increasing. So do you have a mechanism to actually tell you like, okay, some notifications that actually comes and tell you like, hey, this particular metric is increasing since the last 2 hours. You might want to take a look at it. So there are several use cases for like monitoring and improving the service across different persona. And if you also look at like product managers or let's say like C-level executives, they come to the dashboard and they want to look at like how their application is growing, what all features they have actually deployed is making an impact, and what is actually causing the customer to leave the platform. Is it annoyances? Is it like a new feature that you rolled out? Or is it like more related to the product itself? So all these answers you need to have when you're like actually developing a WebRTC application. So what are the key benefits that are like actually offered by call stats? So we have 3 pillars. One is the highly reliable call capture. Second is the powerful visualization. Third is the analytics with answers. So I'm going to dive deep into those 3 pillars. So we collect almost 500 metrics every 10 seconds from each WebRTC endpoint. That is a massive amount of data collection going on across the globe from using all our collectors. And not only we are collecting those metrics, but we are also visualizing and processing and giving you analytics on real time. So if you're making a call, you can already go to the call sensor dashboard and look at those metrics. And if you look at the visualization tool, we are visualizing all that data in a time series where you can mix and match and see like where the issue has actually happened. So if your number of calls or if number of failed calls is increasing, is it related to a certain RTT increasing in certain regions, or some ISP is misbehaving? So you're able to actually slice and dice the data and find out the root cause. And all this data is not only stored there, but it's also sent off to DevOps people so that they can actually take action on it. And sometimes it's not enough that you get analytics. You might not be an expert, so you want to get more information. That's where our AI comes into play, where if you're not an expert in that area, we tell you like, hey, these are the metrics you should be paying attention to, and these are the metrics that are contributing to this particular issue. So you might want to improve on this and this and this area. So that actually dramatically improves the customer experience or user experience. So this is not only just telling you like what to do, but the next step is like, how do you fix that issue? So fixing that is actually like optimizing the experience for that person. So let's say you're making calls using your 3G network or Wi-Fi network, and around that area, most of the people are having issues with 3G network. What if you get a configuration which says like, hey, don't use your 3G network because in your area, the 3G is not working that well. So you might want to switch back to your Wi-Fi network, so you might get a better quality of network. Sorry, better user experience. So how do we make it possible? So we provide end-to-end monitoring. So on the client side, we have like, for web browser, we have the callstat.js SDK. Then we have the REST API. And on the middle boxes like SFUs or MCUs, we have a Java library and also a REST API. All of these endpoints or middle boxes, all of them actually send data to our collectors, and our collectors accumulate this data and process and provide analytics on the callstats.io dashboard for you to take action. And the good news is that just today we released our Android library where you can integrate callstats with your Android applications. So I'll now switch it back to Tim so that he can show you how you can integrate callstats with IceLink.
Oops. Sorry.
Thanks, Benoit. No, go ahead, Carl. You can switch to the next slide.
Good.
Yeah, so to integrate call stats, it's really quite simple. First, you create a callstats.io account, and you'll follow the integration steps on how to create an app ID and app secret. I'll show you how to do that shortly afterwards. But Carl, if you go to the next slide, I'll show you the first code snippet. Well, yeah, and then of course you need to download IceLink. The latest version is 3.26, so you can get that from frozenmountain.com/downloads. So once you've got a callstats.io account and downloaded the SDK, you can check out one of our examples. So to integrate it, yeah, I'll go through the JavaScript implementation or the JavaScript integration. So obviously you need to include the callstats library and then our callstats.js wrapper. Then you'll grab your app ID and your application secret. I'll show you where that is in a second. And then you use those to create a callstats client. So just two elements, create a client. And then you'll add connections to that client. So if we jump to the next slide, I think I'm actually going to do a live code demonstration. Yeah. So I'm going to do this based off of our help.frozenmountain.com documentation website. I'll share my screen here. So this is just one of the demos that ships in our IceLink SDK. So it's a very basic demo. You put in your name, session ID, and you can join a session. And that'll join you with, if other people were joined into this session, then they would be able to see me. Yeah, so if you go to helpfrozenmountain.com, under the advanced topics section, you'll find a callstats.io integration. So to integrate callstats, here you can see that there's a native platform, so you can integrate with a native platform. It's slightly different. It takes an ECDSA key instead of a shared secret. And there's one other API difference, which is in add connection. It takes a device ID, whereas in JavaScript, we handle that for you. Yeah, so that demo I just showed you is this code here. We've got, it's pretty simple. There's an index HTML and there's application code. So first thing you want to do is just take your libraries and then add that in, include those libraries. And you can see here I've already included the callstats wrapper. And then you'll go into your app.ts. And this documentation is in JavaScript, so I'll have to kind of wing it here. So you'll create a new client with an application ID and an application secret. So here it'll take your application ID and your shared secret. So we'll go into callstats and grab that. So there's the application ID under apps, and then if you go under settings, and security, I've created credentials for this webinar. We just put those into the client. So that's essentially step one. You create a client. And then when you create connections within your code, so you can see there's local media, signaling, and then here's where we first create a new connection. So here you'll just add a connection. That's the name, so my name in the session ID, and user ID. So that's pretty much it. So we added 2 lines of code. We created a client, and then every time we create a new connection, we add that connection to the client. And then when you're running the application, it will then start to transmit data to callstats.io. So I'll hand it over to Benoit, and he'll show you the dashboard. and all the goodies that you can get from callstats.io.
And while we're transitioning, I'll just point out to folks that we will take a Q&A session at the end of the webinar, so feel free to add your questions into the Q&A chat box on your screen, and when we get to the end of the webinar, we'll take them in turn. Over to you, Benoit.
Oh, thanks, Carl. Can you guys hear me? Yeah. So this is the dashboard that you will get into once you have actually integrated call stats. So you have integrated call stats and you come to a view called home view, where you can actually see like the average quality of the calls that you have been experiencing, which we call as an objective quality. So objective quality takes into consideration like parameters like RTT, which is round trip time, losses, throughput, audio, video sync, how the frames are rendered on the screen. So this is like an actual experience that user had during the call, let it be a video call or audio call. Then you can see like how the quality is varying over time. So all the blank spots are usually the weekends. And then you can see that, okay, the quality has been varying between fair and excellent. We don't have that many bad calls in this particular system. And you can also look at your happiness of the customer, which is basically the user feedback. So you can check like, hey, the average feedback is varying between 3 and 4, not many bad feedback. So that means like not many people are unhappy with the service. And you can also look at the overall metrics, like how many calls have been made and how many of them failed and succeeded, and plots for that. But that's not just it, because this is mostly for product managers and C-level executive to see like, hey, everything is working fine or not. But if you really want to debug the issues, then you want to go to a bit more deeper view, where you can actually apply filters and then narrow down the problem. So here I've already pre-selected some filters, so you can choose like what kind of time frame do you want to look for like issues. Then you apply like, okay, I want to see all the calls where feedback was 3 and 4. And some of them, if it is successful or failed, you can choose a filter. So there have been like 9 calls that's been there. And you can see the time series for those 9 calls and all kind of breakdowns that you can think of. Let it be in terms of like connections or quality, or you can even look at like all the RTP level metrics, like what was the RTT, what was the jitter, and what kind of ranges they fall into, and also the throughput type of metrics. And one of the key metrics that we show here is the top 5. That means like where most of your users are coming from, what is the most popular app version that you have, what kind of browsers are people preferring to, and what kind of OS people are using, and the breakdown of issues when you're actually developing the app, and also a distribution of like your users across the globe. Then you can go deeper, like a particular call. So for example, if I just go to the conference details and I can see that there are like 7 calls that's been there, and you can see like the quality of them. So if I want to go deeper, I'll just click on this one and I'll say like, oh, okay, there were like 2 people on the call, 1 person from Helsinki and the other one was from Mexico, and all the details related to that. You can see what all things they did on the call. So basically you can look at like whether they muted the audio or they paused the video because the call started really bad and then they resorted to audio. Then all kind of peer connection level information, like for example TTFM, which is like time to first media. That means like when did the remote party actually heard the first bit of audio or the first frame was rendered. Then all kind of information like what kind of transport protocols and what kind of is it UDP or TCP, whatever you can think in terms of like RTP level or transport level metrics. Then we have like graphs, which actually shows you like, let's say like you want to see the throughput on the peer connection level. Then you can just look at the throughput level, how the throughput has been varying for this particular person. And if somewhere it goes down, then what is the main cause for that? So you can actually drill down and all kind of metrics like transport level, or you can look at the losses, you can look at delay. All these graphs are like shown here. Then we have like ICE data. In this particular part, we have actually disabled that feature so that we don't expose any kind of IP addresses. So that kind of lets you know like okay, was there any kind of like switch between or kind of issues during ICE negotiations? So you can actually debug the issues related to ICE negotiations, or your turn server not giving you the right candidates for connection. So all those kind of issues can be, you can debug there. We also allow you to send like logs. That way you don't have to send your logs to a different system, but you can actually send those logs directly to call stats, and we will be able to correlate that logs to a certain issue that's been there. So there are several things that we can go through, but I'll just wrap up for now. If you would like to actually test this on your own and see the same thing that I'm seeing, then you can actually go to try.callstat.io. And from there, you can create a demo account and play with the data and see like what all things you can see from this integration. Now I'll switch back to call so that Carl?
Thank you.
Yep.
Fantastic. All right. We have a few questions queued up, but let me just quickly summarize. So thank you, Tim, for delivering a quick overview on Frozen Mountain and your history in the marketplace. Similarly to Benoit for the call stats overview. We had a great integration demo from Tim and a nice call stats dashboard demo. And there are places where you can go to learn more. So please go to, first off, sales@frozenmountain.com and sales@callstats.io if you'd like to learn more. But before we get to questions, let me mention a special offer. 1 month free trial available for callstats.io service for the first 25 users that apply for an account at www.callstats.io. And to request your free trial, simply use the ordering code that's shown here on the screen, FMCSIO 2018, to claim your free trial. The offer expires on the 9th of November, 1 month from today. So get your request in as quickly as possible, and you'll be able to enjoy the advantages of the full access to our Pro Plus service and try out all the features of Pro Plus for 1 month free of charge. All right. Now to the questions. First question that I have, does this also work with LiveSwitch? Tim, that's probably for you.
Yeah, we don't currently have this library published with LiveSwitch. We're looking into it. Obviously, with LiveSwitch being a server product, it's a lot different. So the integration is a little bit more complex. But yeah, we're definitely looking into that. If anyone is interested that's on the call today, for sure reach out to support@frozenmountain.com, and we can start to track all those feature requests.
Great. Next one. Are all metrics available on all platforms, UWP, Android, iOS, and supported by IceLink?
Yeah, so we've integrated with CallStats. The most feature-rich implementation is the web demo, but all platforms do support the CallStats integration. So UWP, you can run it on HoloLens, you can run it on a Raspberry Pi. It works everywhere. Yeah, so in a nutshell, that's the answer to that question. It works on all platforms.
Next question. Where will the data be stored? I think that sounds like a call stats question.
Hi, thanks, Carl. So yeah, so data is stored currently in US as well as like EU. So some of the customers have strict requirements, like their data should reside within EU with the new GDPR laws. And also some of the healthcare customers from US, they would like to have their data within US. So we allow currently to store the data within EU or as well as in US.
Okay, thanks. Next question, at what frequency or rate is IceLink reporting statistics to call stats?
Yeah, the default I think is once every 10 seconds. So, and that is a property on the client that you can adjust. So you can change that. I think that also in the JavaScript, and Benoit, you can correct me if I'm wrong, it's dynamic. Is that right?
Yeah, you have the option to have a like a dynamic collection, which is basically an adaptive algorithm, which collects only when there are more issues. But if there are not many issues, then basically we don't collect as much as. So if your network is being like really bad, then there's like no point in sending the data and then aggravate that issue. So we try to collect more intelligently rather than at specific intervals.
Okay, great. Related question, what is the impact on bandwidth usage when sending metrics to call stats, and is there a performance impact on your application?
Yeah, not really. I mean, it's minimal. It's basically just sending a little bit of JSON data from the get stats call. So each request sends maybe 10 kilobytes of data, and it's every 10 seconds. So it's quite minimal, almost negligible.
Okay. Next question, is it possible to create bespoke reporting views within call stats?
So currently we are allowing to have the home view where it is kind of defined, but we are moving towards a place where you are able to control what kind of widgets do you want to see. So for example, you might not be interested in like terminated conferences in the home view, but you want to see like setup duration, for example. So you'll be able to set that up in the future releases.
Okay, great. Next question, does callstats.io allow exporting of data?
Yes, this is a question that we get quite often. Even though we recommend all of our customers to come and use the data as much as in callstats.io dashboard, some of the people would like to save that data for for CDRs or some kind of compliancy. So we actually send out like a conference summary at the end of each call, so you can hook it up to your webhook and then save the data and then create your own dashboards if you like.
Great. All right, those are all the questions that I have. So thank you to our presenters. This concludes our webinar today. And if you'd like to learn more about the topic of WebRTC monitoring and WebRTC app development with IceLink, feel free to go to the Frozen Mounatin website, frozenmounatin.com, or callstats.io, and also reach out to the sales contacts that are shown with the email addresses on your screen currently. And thank you very much for attending. Have a good day.